Hello everybody, Richard here with CRG Games, and I know it's been a while, but I have got a deck video for you. I've taken a little bit of a break, for the last couple of months, well actually for a long time now. I just kind of got burned out and maybe lost a little bit of the passion for it there for a while. But here lately, I've been kind of getting back in a little bit. My buddies and we played Commander a few nights ago and had a good time. This is actually my buddy's deck. It's a budget deck, and I was surprised by how well it went. So I'm going to show you this. We're going to do a breakdown, go through all the cards in this deck. It's not like a big crazy, deck. There's not a lot of super expensive stuff, but everything in here really seems to work quite well. Before we do that, I'm going to crack open one of my favorite drinks. That is Fresca, hashtag not sponsored. Do people still hashtag anymore? I don't know. But I tell you what, Fresca is amazing. I don't want to get any on the mat, but I tell you what, Fresca is one of the most crisp and refreshing drinks I've ever had. I love it. But we're here for Magic, so let's get into it. This deck is, and these Gamegenic magnets, they really put some strong magnets in here. They must be neodymium. I mean, they have to be. We're going to set that aside. This deck is Duke Ulder Ravengard. He is not a very expensive commander. I think he's only 25 cents. This version, the foil etched version, might be, I don't know, 35 cents or maybe a little bit more, but not much. What he does is at the beginning of combat on your turn, another target creature you control gains haste and Myriad until end of turn. And what you're really wanting here is that Myriad part. This deck is going to work better when there's more opponents because Myriad creates copies of a creature. Those creatures do go away at the end of combat, but you want to have as many copies out there on the field as possible. So this deck, again, is really going to work better with the more people you have. So let's put the Duke aside. He is a 5/5 for 6, 4 colorless, and a red and a white. This is a Boros deck. I've got this split up with creatures first. So let's go through our creature base. And the most expensive creature in here is going to be about $37, $38. You don't necessarily need that. You could drop the price of this deck down a good bit with just a couple substitutions. But we'll start out with Elturel Survivors. This is Trample and Myriad, and that's really important in this deck. Aspiring Champion. This is from the Warhammer 40k deck. Precon. One of them. I'm not sure really which one. Surtland Flinger. That is Kaldheim. Battle Angels of Tyr. This is another one with Myriad, and it's such a long text here. I'm not going to read it, but you make tokens basically, treasure tokens and all that good stuff. Loyal Warhound. When it ETBs, if an opponent controls more lands than you, search your library for basic planes, put it on the battlefield tapped, and then shuffle. The important part about this is when you have a Myriad activation, which let's find one here real quick so we can read the text on it. I know there's one here. There we go. Herald of the Host. Whenever this creature attacks, for each opponent other than the defending player, you may put a token that's a copy of this creature onto the battlefield tapped and attacking that player, or a planeswalker he or she controls. Exile the token at the end of combat. The important part of this is the creature is entering the battlefield. So you want to have these tokens triggering a lot of really good ETBs. Loyal Warhound, for example, when it ETBs, if an opponent controls more lands than you, search your library for a basic plains card, put it on the battlefield tapped, and then shuffle. So just with this Loyal Warhound, if you've got multiple opponents, you could be searching your library for multiple lands. Depends on how far back you are. But that could be a really good one. Furbolg Flutist. When it ETBs, gain control of target creature you don't control until end of turn. Untap it. It gains haste and Myriad until end of turn. that's rough. You know, if you got these kind of things coming up against you, it's going to be rough. And in the couple games that we did play, it was very rough. You got Bloodshot Cyclops. You can sacrifice creatures, including copies. You got Sun Titan. Roving Harper. ETBs, draw a card. Angel of Serenity. When ETBs, you may exile up to 3 other target creatures from the battlefield and or creatures from graveyards. That's a good one. Skyclave Apparition. That's from Zendikar Rising. At one time, this card was relatively expensive, but it didn't stay that way. It did eventually drop down pretty good. We got Resistance Squad. That is for draw. Palace Jailer. You become the Monarch. Never underestimate the power of being the Monarch. Impulsive Pilferer. Impulsive Pilferer dies. Create a treasure token. I love this for a 1-drop. It's so fantastic. This card here, Hammers of Moradin. This caused us more grief than probably anything else. And that's because of this bottom part. When it attacks, for each opponent, tap up to 1 target creature that player controls. So when you are creating copies of this card, and all of those copies are attacking, they each tap down creatures. And what's going to happen basically is you're going to create a bunch of copies of this. You're going to tap everybody's creatures down, and then you're just going to be doing a ton of damage. This thing did not fail. It was very tough, and it was definitely when Hammers of Moradin came out onto the battlefield, it was definitely a get rid of ASAP because it gets rid of your blockers. You got Bloodthirster. Whenever it deals combat damage to a player, untap it. After this combat phase, there's an additional combat phase. That's going to be very, very painful. Terror of the Peaks. This is, at this point, a classic. Terror of the Peaks is just an awesome, awesome card. I love it. Keeper of the Accord. That is Commander Legends. Hamletback Goliath. Or, if you're my buddy, it's Hamelback. Yeah, Knight of the White Orchid. And actually, I should go back. Hamletback Goliath is, probably 25 cents, if that. But whenever another creature enters a battlefield, that includes your copies, your Myriad copies. You may put X 1/1 counters on Hamletback Goliath, where X is that creature's power. Hamletback Goliath balloons into a massive big boy. Even bigger than he already is in no time. It's actually terrible. And then all you have to do is fling it. You've got Knight of the White Orchid, Warchief Giant, Haste and Myriad already. You got Priest of Ancient Lore. When it ETBs, you gain 1 life and draw a card. That is a draw engine when you've got a bunch of those hitting the battlefield. Lord of the Third Path. This is from Bro. You can destroy up to 1 target artifact or enchantment. Solemn Simulacrum. You got Sad Robot, of course. Gisela, Blade of the Gold Knight. This is one of my favorites. This first came out in Gatecrash, if I do recall. You got Professional Facebreaker. This is also a really great card. It has Menace. Whenever 1 or more creatures you control deal combat damage to a player, create a treasure token. You could create a ton of treasure tokens if you got a big enough group. Thraben Inspector. When ETBs investigate, you're also creating tokens there. Inspiring Overseer, gain a life, draw a card. There's a lot of that in here. Oreskos Explorer. That is going to be able to get you some lands if you need it. Karmic Guide, protection from black. Stalking Vengeance. Whenever another creature you control dies, it deals damage equal to its power to target player or planeswalker. It's important to note at the end of combat when you exile your tokens, they're not dying, so that doesn't trigger. But this deck does have ways to keep those tokens so they don't die, or those copies, they don't die at the end of combat, and then later this can trigger. You got Borderland Behemoth, 4/4 for each other giant you control. There's a couple in there. You got Mondrak, Glory Dominus. This is also, this is from 1, Phyrexia, 1. What is it? All will be 1. Yeah, Phyrexia, all will be 1. Great card. Creates tons of tokens. Like, this just gets insane. Luckily, we didn't see this pop out, so we didn't have to deal with it. But if we did, it would have been Very bad. And then we got Victory's Herald. Whenever it attacks, attacking creatures gain flying and lifelink until end of turn. Very painful. Very, very painful. And that's going to refill your life points when you're getting low. So we'll put Herald of the Host back over there. Move on to our enchantments. Not a whole lot of them in here. So we've got Sunbird's Invocation. Whenever you cast a spell from your hand, reveal the top X cards of your library, where it's the mana value. You may cast a spell from among them revealed this way without paying its mana cost. That can be very helpful. It is a little bit of a high cost, so I don't know if I would particularly run this, but you know, you could do some damage with that. Duelist Heritage. You know, this card, for being 3 mana, is I think one of the most overpowered cards in this game. My buddy's a big fan of it. You will see this in multiple decks of his. Whenever one or more creatures attack, that's anybody's creatures, one or more creatures attack, you may have target attacking creature gain double strike until end of turn. So you can use this to your advantage when your creatures are attacking, or you can also use this to your advantage when your opponent's creatures are attacking your other opponents. It's absolutely fantastic. It's 3 mana, and you get to use it whenever you want. You decide what happens, you know, to attacking creatures on the battlefield. I love Duelist Heritage, and I hate Duelist Heritage. Warstorm Surge. Whenever whenever a creature ETB is under your control, deals damage equal to its power to target creature or player. When you're creating those copies for Myriad, they're going to be doing damage. You got Fanatical Devotion, sack a creature, regenerate target creature. There's just a little bit of a regeneration there. Smothering Tithe to get you ramped. And Legion Loyalty. If all else fails, just give everything you have, Myriad. That'll do it. Again, it's a little on the higher, on the higher CMC cost, but this is a budget deck, so you won't be running, the most, mana efficient cards. All right, we've got a fancy fling. Kazul's Fury. This is one of those modal dual faces from Zendikar Rising. Got Swords to Plowshares, just an all-around great card. I believe this is a revised Swords to Plowshares, if I'm thinking about that correctly. Got a Chaos Warp from Warhammer 40k. Get rid of stuff. Path to Exile, another removal. There's a couple removal spells in here, not a ton, but there's some important ones. We got Take Up the Shield from Dominaria United. 1/1 counter on target creature. Lifelink and indestructible. These kind of things are great for protecting your commander because Duke already costs 6. If you have to cast him more than once or twice, it's going to be really painful for you. And you've got Akroma's Will. Sometimes you just need to give everything, an extra boost. And Akroma's Will is a good way to do that. All right, let's go with our sorceries. There's only a couple. We got Winds of Wrath. You really should have some kind of board wipe in every deck. At least one board wipe card, just in case. Winds of Wrath is a cheap option for that. Got Jeska's Will. This, for a long time, was really expensive. I don't know if it still is. Let me see here. Jeska's Will is $18, so yeah, it's still expensive. It's ramp in red, which is great. Yeah, Cleansing Nova. This is another board wipe potential. If you want, you can do creatures or artifacts and enchantments. You get to choose, which is fantastic. And then you've got Thud as an additional cost to cast the spell. Sack a creature, deals damage equal to the sack creature's power to any target. This is great for using with Hamlet back Goliath as well as Fling. We've got some artifacts in here, so we'll go through them real quick. And there's some very important ones in here that you'll want to get out. You got your standard stuff like a Fire Diamond, Felwar Stone. You got some Mana Rocks, Arcane Signet, Marble Diamond, Cold Steel Heart, Soul Ring, Blade of Selves. All right, so if the creature doesn't already have Myriad, you can give it Myriad with 6 total. Lightning Greaves, Haste and Shroud, very important. Sundial of the Infinite. This is going to be a key player in this deck. When you create your Myriad copies, you can pay 1 and tap to end the turn. Activate this ability only during your turn. So before the end of combat, you will want to activate Sundial of the Infinite. That will make it so your copies created with Myriad do not disappear. They do not get exiled, so you get to keep them. This can be broken in this deck. If you use it right and you don't let it get blown up, Sundial of the Infinite is absolutely fantastic. Then you've got Dolmen Gate. This is from, was it Shadowmoor, I believe, or Lorwyn. Prevent all combat damage that would be dealt to attacking creatures you control. Basically just prevents your creatures from dying. It's a fantastic card for 2. You've got Thought Vessel, Mana Rock, of course, and Archaeomancer's Map. This helps you get extra lands as well. And whenever a land ETB is under an opponent's control, if they have more lands than you, you may put a land card from your hand onto the battlefield. So that's also fantastic. It only costs 3, so you can get it out potentially on turn 2 if you get your Soul Ring. So some great stuff in there. You're going to want to pay attention to that Sundial of the Infinite, though. And then we'll go with our lands, and we'll finish up. So we've got Battlefield Forge. There's no crazy expensive lands in here. The most expensive one is 65 cents, it appears. So we got Battlefield Forge, Ancient Amphitheater, we got Vivid Crag, Myriad Landscape, Clifftop Retreat, a couple commons here, Command Tower, of course, Vivid Meadow, Boros Guildgate, and then the rest is just mountains and plains. And there's no crazy ones in here. Jason's got some really nice cards in his binders, but he doesn't use them so much in decks like I do, where I just want to bling them all out. So let's recap here. Duke, Ulder, Ravengard. What is the point of this guy? Myriad. You want to create copies. You want to create a bunch of copies. You want to pump those creatures up. You want to have multiple people at the table. The more the better, because you'll create more copies. And then you want to use Sundial the Infinite to keep those copies and make sure they don't go away. Duke, Ulder, Ravengard, you can build this deck as it sits for about $200. With a couple of changes, if you take out Mondrak, which is about $38, Terror of the Peaks, which is about $18, and Jeska's Will and Smothering Tithe. If you take those cards out, you're basically going to cut the cost of this deck in half, and you can have it for about $100, maybe even less if you make some further changes. So, highly recommend you try out Duke, Ulder, Ravengard. He's 25-cent commander, but he's way more than that in the amount of fun that you can have creating a bunch of copies. I hope you guys enjoyed. The deck list will be in the description. You will notice I have been updating all the deck list links. I apologize it's taken so long, but they all should be working now, or most of them. I've had to go through, manually redo all the deck links because of the old service. Doing some updates, and they just don't quite work anymore. So I had to manually go in and do all this. If you want to buy this deck, I will also create, or I will also have a TCG Player deck list link in there. They have a deck builder service where you can check out decks, and then you can just add the entire deck to your cart, hit optimize, and you can buy the deck or parts of it if you need. That will be an affiliate link with TCG Player. I do get a very small percentage of anything that's purchased through there. It's like 3%. So it's not a lot, but every little bit helps out. I hope you guys enjoyed. I hope you guys tried this deck out. I really do. Get you and a bunch of your buddies together, pull out Duke, Ulder, Ravengard, and go to town. It's going to be fun for you, and maybe it'll be fun for them too. So until next time, I will catch you guys later. Peace.